In a few moments, you will have an experience which will seem completely real. It will be the result of your subconscious fears transformed to your conscious awareness. You have 5 seconds to terminate this tape. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome back. How is it hanging tonight? We are back here with another We Are So Back Wednesday, BG-Cast Wednesday Live podcast. Alrighty, guys, I want to thank all of the new followers over on Rumble and YouTube. I guess our Church of True Christ episode last Sunday is the biggest one we've had yet. And I'm really grateful, we could do something on Sunday. Again, it's been a while since we've sat down together for Church of True Christ, and it was kind of good. The vibe was awesome, and it seemed the energy kind of presented itself. So I was actually really, really, really stoked to see that. That was awesome. So, but nonetheless, guys, of course, one of the things we're going to do is we are going to talk about our 2 sponsors. And of course, guys, this is how New Earth starts. All right. This is how we get New Earth going, and we start to build the foundation for this. We start helping people in our community. So the first sponsor I'm going to tell you to check out, of course, is Divine Creation Gifts. Let's pull up their website real quick. So, guys, definitely check out Divine Creation Gifts, man. This is a homegrown metaphysics store, and you will get free shipping on all of your orders over $50. They have crystals. They have an apothecary. They got ritual tools. They've got apparel and merch, guys. And this is the beginning. Like I say this every episode. This is how we build the foundation. We start supporting each other. We start supporting people in the community who are trying to put their foot forward and trying to create a business that is authentic, that is not laden with a lot of BS like we see a lot of businesses now. And it is homegrown. Like I said, guys, she's a part of our community. So please go support divinecreationgifts.com. Tell them I sent you. And then the next, of course, guys, what would New Earth be if we didn't have New Earth Entertainment? That's right, guys. My friend, the Lion, has been laying the foundation for New Earth Entertainment. He has a comic book series he's released. He has his own short film, Dear Lilith, I Love You, that actually won Best Director at the New York Film Festival. So, guys, go over and support... no, Don, I started at 6:30. I started a little early. Sorry about that, man. So go ahead and support the Lion, my friend David. Here is his link tree. And again, guys, check out the comic. If you want to read it on Kindle first, it's available on Kindle, but I'm going to recommend that you actually really get the comic book. Like I said, it looks like a sweet limited first edition comic. I've read it on Kindle, but I have not read the comic book itself. I am leaving it wrapped up in its sleeve because I like it is. It's special to me. So, and I think something really big is going to come of this. So please go support my friend, the Lion, and check out his comic book series, his movie. Like I said, it won Best Director at the New York Film Festival. Giving a shout out to everybody in the chat. We got Divine Connections with Susan, Sam, Michelle, Don, Melissa, my wife is in the chat too. So awesome. This is great. So it's going to be a nice full show tonight, and I really like that. But nonetheless, let's get to my guest. So you guys have heard us talk about human design before on this show a lot. And one of the rarest, so we have generators, manifesting generators, we have projectors, and of course, me, your good old manifester over here. But there's one last one that we do not get to see very often. And they are actually the rarest human design. They are a reflector. They are 1% of the population. And, I thought I was rare because I was 8%, but reflectors are 1% of the population. So I'm actually really looking forward to bringing my guest on because she's a reflector. She's a Scorpio. She is an alchemist herself. So I'm looking forward to actually kind of sitting down and picking her brain about what being a reflector in life is like. So nonetheless, let me bring to the stage Mrs. Jessica Dawn. What is up, Jessica? How's it going?
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. So, um, the one thing I want to ask you before we kind of dive into your spiritual awakening story, um, what is it like being a reflector? How interesting is it? Because I know you guys reflect energy. So like my biggest question to you would be like, have you ever reflected like unwanted energy before on accident or things along those lines? Because yeah, I know you guys kind of like reflect others' auras and energy. So yeah, if you don't mind diving into that real quick, that would be awesome.
Yeah, it's I always refer to my experiences as very backwards because I regard myself as highly intuitive, and I will get this sense of energies that are meant to be kind of taken head on
Mhm,
and approached with somewhat of some caution due to the fact that a reflector will absorb it 90% of the
mhm,
time. And I definitely don't I don't have the same approach as others to really take on energy. So in that sense, I have to, I guess the courage dial has to be turned up for my perspective because
mhm,
I never know if it's always like if it's me or if it's them, and not right off the bat, but in the end of the experience, I do get a full clarity and a full 360 view of what was happening in the moment, and almost a third person view at times with the intuition coming in and kind of guiding me, my higher self guiding me, telling me,
mhm.
hey, you're learning this lesson right now, or you're gonna have to try that one again, Jessica. So it's kind of
Interesting.
it's a little bit black and white. Some bad energies end up being really amazing through a process that I use. And other times I'm left mostly a little confused because it's a bigger, broader lesson than me. And it's not all about me, but the people that I'm encountering, I can tell they bring this bigger picture to me with with all of it said and done in a day. Sometimes it's many pictures of what we're doing here together on our mission here on Earth, and other days it's, well, we're walking in the dark again. So I know that's
Mhm.
pretty broad, but like
I
it's it's
gotcha.
it's a hard description to deliver. And I'm honored to be able to try to explain it a little more as we go through this podcast this evening. So yes, lots of things to cover.
Well, absolutely. So you said a couple things. I just wrote down a couple things I want to talk to you about, for sure. But let's kind of redirect it here for just a sec. So since this is your first time on the show, we want to get to know you a little bit, and we kind of want to hear your story. And I believe, real quick, hey David, I just did your promo, man. I hope all is well. Um, but I want to kind of dive into your spiritual awakening story because to me, in my eyes, how we all got to this point is actually it's a very special and precious thing. So the question I'm going to ask you is, what was that moment, or there were many moments? There can be many sometimes that was almost like a burning bush for you that kind of opened your third eye and made you realize that there was more to this world than what was being let on to be. That's the best kind of way I can describe it. So if you want to dive into that for us, that would be awesome.
Well, it happened in phases. Um, I don't really know how many phases there are to this. But when I was around 8 years old, I started having really elaborate, vivid, and astral dreaming and projections, and I was very closed off from the community that we have today. So I would say that it was very hard to get any spiritual guidance through another person that understood what I was going through. So I would journal a lot and I would write down the dreams that I would have. And I kept those journals for like this phase two, like in my teens, when these premonitions started to come true from my
Mhm.
dreams years ago. That was a big, I'd say a decade of phase two, where I literally, as you described it, saw this burning bush. And it was very confusing and it was very intimidating to not be able to really identify what belonged to me in that 10 years and what belonged to others. And so the spiritual awakening became sort of, and I did hit a spiritual psychosis at one point.
Okay.
Sober minded just through the dreams, and the intuition was zero um, guidance from another person that understood me. It was extreme for me. But I kept pursuing the higher, the elevated feelings that I would give myself through the growth stages, like albeit um, I started looking out for myself with these intuitions, kind of helping me guide others along the way. And that merged into helping others significantly, which in turn was really driving my intuition to a better clarity and a more trusting path. Phase three, I would say safely I'm in phase three. And what that looks like for me now is recalibrating with other people on a trust level where I have identified what belongs to me. I have a stronger sense of boundaries in my spirituality. And I think others are reflecting that back to me a lot more than ever before, which is a beautiful thing. So all in all, it's probably gonna keep going like that for a while. But I never had a real defined moment that just made me like so sure of the outer worlds. It was always connected to me. I think that's because I'm a Scorpio by a sun sign, but I have many other natal placements that revolve around the mysterious, the unknown, the collective, the subconscious collective, and the co coexisting collective, that we all share this perspective at one point. It does dawn on me most days that we are getting through it one step at a time. But for me, I just, my whole life is a strange movie that I feel someone else is writing. And most
I
days
get
I'm
that.
laughing about it. These days I'm laughing about it. But in the beginning, it was an absolute nightmare, and I'm not going to lie about that. Full transparency. I felt like I crawled out of the what would be the ninth circle of hell to understand myself better, and it was always a mystery for me. Like, I don't know. I hope that makes sense because I
No,
didn't
no, it
have
does.
a brief before this, but like, thanks for asking that question. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. One of the things I'm going to say is we all understand.
Sure, sure.
Every- everybody here understands. So one of the biggest things I like to say a lot is a lot of us were born this way.
Right.
We were. And it was just the coming into the remembering of it. And that's why I really like to use the term. I mean, I get it. At first you awaken, don't get me wrong, but really what it is, it's remembering. It's a lot of it is remembering. It's kind of pulling forth this ancestral, spiritual, and physical DNA, this memory out of us, because we are, everything is already encoded within us.
Yeah.
And it's the awakening like activates it, but then like the remembering afterwards is like what really kind of integrates it, and it dials it in, and then we start to embody it completely in our physical bodies, and therefore we start to project that into our existence. That's a really cool story. I dig it. I get the spiritual psychosis. So what kind of helped you out of that, if you don't mind me asking? Because there's some people I know who still kind of undergo it sometimes. So like any little bit of, a different perspective on advice would be awesome.
Yeah, from a reflector's point of view, I felt like I was literally in a hall of mirrors for quite some time. And I have heard the term soul fragmentation kind of tossed around in the unraveling of getting your identity back to you. And that's the best way I can put it. But for what it's worth, meditation can absolutely break any type of hold on you for that manner. There are different obvious techniques that can be used, but one that I used um, was specifically staying in nature. That was my go-to.
Mm.
That's what survived me. Like I would go to the earth and I would give my everything to the sky, the earth, the water, the mountains. And I would say, when is it enough? When will it all be this thing that I can express better to people, or when I don't have to hold this anymore? And the defining answer for me was when I was in the middle of nowhere and not expecting to see a soul, because I purposely would do that to detach from anyone else maybe incurring on my energy or anything. And that was like a repetitive sense of meditation for me, a sense of
Okay.
control, a sense of channeling and being my authentic feminine energy. And I took it for granted for a long time. It was funny. I was doing it so often that I wasn't taking in the truest, I don't know, the message of it all. I was
Makes
going
sense.
to state, but I wasn't really holding intention with knowing that I wasn't escaping, but I was I was grounding and being free on my own terms. And it wasn't escapism anymore. It became this ritual. And the ritual was forgiving and healing, and people wouldn't know how to receive me when I returned to community.
Hmm.
Wouldn't know me, and I would actually quite literally change appearance. My skin would just resurface and brighten. My smile was bigger. My eyes were, if people would look specifically in my eyes, they would get triggered. It would trigger them in
Gotcha.
anything. And this is when things get complicated for me, because I can read their energy like a book. So I would have to be very careful over time. This took years over time, when to prompt eye contact, because it's like scanning the body for me. If I
I
can look at
understand that.
you, I can go all the way up and I can sense your chakras in alignment or disalignment, it wouldn't matter. But when I get to the eyes, that is everything for a reflector. And there's no escaping it. So spiritual psychosis can be in little tendencies. Over time, it can pile up like a snowball effect. And to escape it, you must understand methodologies, psychology, philosophy. The human design is helping. Western zodiac astrology, it helps. But you got to be very careful with your
Hmm.
mind and your meditative and your grounding points, because the world is loud. It's loud, and it can really flood you if you aren't careful. That's really what it is.
Oh, 100%. I completely agree, and I think really, really in the beginning, what causes that psychosis for us too, like you were talking about soul fragmentation, you literally just got your perspective of the world is shattered into pieces. And here's the thing, like, you're not 100% open like you are now. You know what I mean? From your experiences. So that's why I think a lot of us, when we experience this very quick, what I would say, powerful awakening within us, when we have that realization, it splits us, because we come to find out, even though we've kind of known it all along, like we felt it all along, we through the conditioning of this existence, we started to adopt this worldview that was not true. And then, especially depending on what age this happens, and especially if you are supremely attached to that worldview, or you were in some ways like supremely attached to that worldview, and that gets ripped away from you, and now you're looking at this completely different world. Yes, it can absolutely be jarring. It can be intense, so that's why for a lot of people, one of the things I tell them, and for anybody who's listening to, because spiritual psychosis can happen even for people who are very experienced in their spiritual evolution too. And one of the things I say is always stay open. Always don't attach yourself. Don't die on the hill, I guess you could say, of any particular narrative, any particular theory, any particular perspective, because the truth that you know today may not be the truth that you know tomorrow. And that's definitely something I lead to people too. But cool, man. Very amazing story. Like sounds like you have had an interesting one, like a lot of us. And it seems like you were born with these innate gifts. You were getting these visions in your dreams. And so awesome. Thanks for sharing. I'm glad you enjoyed the question. So the next thing I want to talk to you about, because for everybody in the audience, they know that I am really big on this topic, and I have called it spiritual alchemy. I've called it inner alchemy. I call it energetic and emotional transmutation, but the transformation of pain into wisdom. And this is, in my opinion, where the real spiritual work starts to come into play. This is when you really start to kind of understand like your inner energetic workings, how they work. And I feel like this is very important for when it comes. This is where the real work happens, like I said. So if you don't mind, let's kind of like dive into that, and let's talk about your thoughts on transforming pain into wisdom, and some of your methods of healing that you potentially still utilize today that can maybe help others out there who are still kind of struggling to learn how to do this. Because one of the biggest things I say also is like, a lot of people are still stuck in survival mode. They haven't really moved into creator mode just yet. So this is like a key integral part of moving into creator mode. So I'd love to hear your take.
Well, yes, this is the majority of the foundation of the whole of our soul here. It's to create. I agree with that. I usually say that this is an unconventional method. It will not be instantaneous, at least not for myself. And it will pivot between your morals and your ethics heavily as you walk each day through what you think you know the truth about and what you really want to go and discover. And the difference is creating that bridge to do it. And creating will be an alchemized project. In essence, it will take your deepest, darkest moments, your shadow work, and it will project it in front of you until you pay attention to the details that actually bring you to the fruition of creating. And once you do it the first time, no one's going to notice. And you're going to want validation, and you're going to want the human connection, and you're going to want the spotlight, but it won't come. This is where it gets tricky, because this is why the wisdom comes first. You have to sit with it. You have to sit with it and pretend for a second that maybe you screwed it up, but that you can do it again, and you can do it better, and you can keep creating. This doesn't matter what it is, okay? You can X equals anything here, right?
Mm-hmm.
But once you do it, you have to come out of that fear spectrum. Well, what are other people going to think about it? What if I scare them away? What if I scare myself? So from a
I get
reflective
it.
perspective, I've hit those stages, and there was a time where I realized that I wasn't, no one was coming to save me. Um, and maybe to go back a little bit, that was the moment I realized that I'm outwardly connected to all other realms that I don't understand. Even if I wanted to know it all, I wouldn't know what to do with it. So maybe I
Mhm.
should just create with it and just try to like have fun with that and then go
Mhm.
from there. And that was what walked me to writing my book and deciding that I was going to leave um something creative and wise in my legacy. And it didn't matter if anyone cared or believed in it or wanted to buy it. It was me wanting to know that I stepped out of spiritual psychosis for one and delved into soul alchemy and said, I will serve myself in sovereignty. I will rescue myself with creativity. I will I will condense my creative flow in my own lane, and I will choose to do it on my own accord, and no one will tell me anything about it because I don't want them to. If they do, I'm not focused. I'm not focused on it enough. Now it's fun leaning into creative alchemy to share it with others. It is, but for myself, I had to learn to pick up the tools first. I had to learn what any of it meant first. I couldn't just jump into a community and be accepted. It didn't matter if we all shared some sort of belief. I
Mhm.
was the literal walking trigger wherever I went to these other beautiful people, and I realized that it's just not a centered time for me. I'll have to wait, and that took a long time.
Mhm.
I kept focusing on very deep, meaningful, passionate things that happened in my life, things that made me ultimately grateful, aside from fear and shame and guilt. So that we're moving up in frequency and talking about the upper portion of the body in a perspective where we move out
Mhm.
of our shame and our guilt and we start to think about what we're happy about, what we can do better for ourselves and for others, and what our gifts are. And I just started to realize that if nobody's coming to save me and I have to save myself and I want to stay happy, then I'm going to create not just wisdom, but a methodology of wisdom for myself to lean on so I can facet myself as an example, as a leader, and as a co-existing voice here that can actually be heard, absorbed, and taken in and received, as well as like processed so others can be inspired to continue to create. Unfortunately, how many of you had to sit there and talk somebody off the ledge? I'm sure there's a
Yeah.
great many of you that have had to remind a beautiful soul. Forgive me if I get emotional, but the
It's
body
okay.
can't be
Yeah.
high for me. It's too uncomfortable and high for me. So one was too many. One was too many for me. I
I
can't imagine
understand.
how many other people carry the weight that they do sometimes and have to be there for another person. And we've all forgot that the remembering is creative flow, and then get the connection back and let somebody feel safe in their body again so they can be here to deliver the path or walk the path to that deliverance creative flow. So soul alchemy is not just one path in my mind, it's a labyrinth. It takes
I like
dedication.
that.
It takes patience, so much patience to see yourself through every corner, to recognize yourself through every confusing little path, but to trust yourself immensely through it all is the greatest gift because you're going to end up giving that to someone inevitably. Inevitably. And it's soul alchemy is portions and processes that we want to just instantaneously give somebody as a pretty little gift, but it's not that simple. And unfortunately for many right now, it will remain so until they come out of survival mode. and they tell themselves they can trust themselves and they can stay safe in that knowing, in that, and that is so much easier said than done, but it is the reason I'm still here. It's the reason that I
Absolutely.
do what I do today, and I'm sure many of you can relate to that.
And don't feel bad about getting emotional, okay? You're safe here to do that because it's a
And it'll come out. It will.
no, you're fine. No, don't be embarrassed. Don't be embarrassed at all because it's a very emotional process, and you're absolutely right. And you're getting a whole bunch of love from the chat too. Like, I mean, hold on, let me show you're getting a whole bunch of love from the chat.
Thanks.
Everybody, yeah. So, and then is even people are saying how you're describing soul alchemy is perfect and all of that. So the number one thing I want to say that you brought up, I want to touch on real quick is that external validation factor when it comes to this. And this is something that we have to we have to. Oh, somebody just said, sorry, hold on. I cry all the time every time the wind blows, Jessica. So you're getting some love from Black Unity Girlfriend, but yeah. So feel free to be emotional. We get it here. This is a spot for it. So but no, like the external validation factor, yes, it's something that we need to release attachment with in this process, because ultimately we're doing this for us. We're doing this so we can, I call it like you're walking around life with this 600-pound backpack. You know what I mean? And it's like you're carrying all of this weight with you from everything that you've stored energetically in your fascia and your subtle body system, all of the stored experiences, the trauma from those experiences, and they ultimately end up becoming like this massive weight that you walk with. And I'm just like you, dude. I see so many people walking with this 600-pound backpack, and and it's funny because I call it the collective resting bitch face. That's kind of like my term for it because, like, I see everybody. I see everybody walking around like this though. Like they got this face on, and I'm like watching all, because I'm empathic too. I get it, and so like and I'm like looking at them, and like part of me just wants to go up to them. I want and be like, you know what? If you just smiled, a lot of great things would come your way. Like that's the thing that I like want to reach up. I want to grab these people, and I want to be like, listen, dude, if you just smiled, a lot of things would get better for you. I can promise you that. So, but no, I get it. The external validation factor is a huge thing that we need to release attachment with. Also, too, like one of the reasons why I think you were getting these reactions from people, like when you would come around, because being a reflector, I bet you hold up a bigger mirror than most of us do to a lot of people. Like, you know what I mean? Like a lot of us who are, and that's the thing, like when you're on this healing journey, and you're healing yourself, and you're taking care of your internal work and your internal nature, you by default start to hold a mirror up to everybody around you. Like you just do.
Yeah, the task is not to, though. The challenge is when to.
Good. I like that. Absolutely. So that's my theory. I mean, of course you probably have your own reasons as to why that kind of turned out the way it did. My theory on that is because you are a reflector. I mean, you were like, maybe in the beginning you were holding up this this massive mirror to people. And of course, like, I kind of deal with it too, especially in the men department, because because I'm a man who's healing myself too. I'm in the healing journey. I'm in the healing process. By default, I hold up a mirror to other people. Like, yes, I eat healthy. I take care of myself. I try to conduct myself in like a in like a way that a flesh angel would, I guess you could say. And it does. It does. It causes some bad reactions. But it seems like you have kind of began to understood yourself a little bit deeper on that level, and you now know when to utilize it. So that's awesome. I want to say that. And the other thing too that you kind of pulled out as well is the labyrinth thing, the labyrinth analogy. Absolutely, it is a freaking labyrinth. And you know, one of the things I've noticed for when it comes to a lot of this too is it's not a one size fits all method. For each of us. Each of us are going to have kind of our own way of going about it. And it's ultimately the willingness to experiment and fuck around and find out and see what works for you in that aspect. So it is. It's shifting yourself from the victim mentality into a creator mentality. And when you're walking around a collective of people who are still very stuck in a victim mentality, you shine like a bright light, and sometimes people are are going to get upset at the way you shine. So I want to say thank you for sharing that. What were you going to say? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, you're great. And that's it's funny. Like I'm very big on like I study languages and I study um different dialects of accents and stuff like that because it's to me, I'm very big on what you speak is what you create. And so to
Absolutely.
broaden perspective on soul alchemy, I decided that I would not limit myself to one language in order to be unified. Maybe it would be in my best interest to unify language, and that meant many different things for me. I started with my DNA. I started with my makeup, my genes, where I'm from. I learned from just small facts about myself to regain power and a sense of control and identity just kind of piece together what that meant for me. And I got so well at studying languages and getting to like a creative mode that I was starting to pay attention to my manifestations. As I would speak, I would create. And an abracadabra effect would definitely be a veil on my life. I would just have to discover it. And it was a slow process to discover it. And one of the ways that was validating certain things and not validating certain things, as well as even just saying the word victim was annihilated from my vocabulary at one point because I decided I'm not that person anymore. Again, years of process, years of healing. And so I quite literally announce myself as a spiritual warrior. I am a spiritual warrior. I've left the stage phase 2 survivor and the phase 1 victim. I've come to stage 3 and I have been called to exemplify warrior status. And I'll be very clear with that for people for the rest of my life. And by that meaning, I want to say that I end up pulling these triggers from people now. Wasn't this way in the beginning, but now if I see them struggling or their energy is off, they're not smiling and they are feeling good about themselves. I make it my entire mission that if they are going to interact with me, then I will use positive words or I will try to make them laugh. I'll find their funny bone if it makes it any better. That the methodology I try to use is basically leave them better than you found them. Leave them better than you found them because in turn you will find yourself again. And it is a huge process, but it is worth every second. And if you find yourself feeling not so great, all the time, it's time for a cleanse. You've taken it on, and you don't have to be a reflector for that. Reflectors are just really good at doing it. And we don't always know we're doing that. But once we transmute and alchemize that for others, it's a night and day thing. I mean, I have literally watched like a whole day go by. And if I'm feeling bad, I literally see it all around me.
Mhm.
There's no avoiding it. So I sit back with it. I'm like, what is going on in me right now? Like, where is this even mine? Like, I have to do a soul surgery
I
and like
gotcha.
literally go inward and just remove the thorn. I don't know, right out of the consciousness and like look at it and be like, hey, thanks, I'm grateful, but can we just try again? And that's how I do it. Like it's a meditative process as well. Like if you know what you're looking for and you know you're stagnant in your energy, or you can look out for yourself all you want. But if that one person came by you and did that one thing, it just sticks with you. That can attract a lot if it's not let go, if the detachment's not
I completely
available.
agree.
It's also meant for you, though. It's not a mistake. It's very much meant for you. Like that part, a lot of people, I think they forget that and they go back into the guilt and shame method. And it's like,
Hmm.
no, you got to go, you got to know it's meant for you and deal with it head on because there's no way out. There's only through. Okay, so let's remember that, people. You know I got mad love for all of you. Please remember that going forward. Please.
No, I completely agree. The only way out is through, you know, and I think you kind of laid it out. One thing you were laying out, I don't know if you were even intentionally laying it out or not, but this is kind of what I heard based on what you were saying is our external reality is a mirror of our internal experience. Absolutely. You know, like you were kind of saying to me, you know, like if you like you feel bad, you know, you're going to take a look at the, you know, everything around you and kind of just analyze it from a spiritual sense and kind of look deep within. And like you were saying on how that one person can come by and it can do this thing for you and it's meant for you. And honestly, this is how I think our higher self actually tests us
Yeah.
in these moments. It tests, you know, our observation. It tests our you know, have we been paying attention? Have we learned? Have we been kind of collecting data on all of these mistakes that we've made before? And a lot of times what'll happen is I'm sure you've noticed this too. If you haven't learned, you'll keep kind of approaching the same situation will kind of start to approach you like in a cycle, because what this is, at least in my eyes, is this is your higher self going like, hey dude, you need to learn this time. We're presenting you with this so you can learn this time on how to handle it. And you know, and that's really what aces the test. That's what passes the test. And I'm kind of going to dive into this real quick, because I haven't asked any of my guests this in a while. How do you feel about symbolism potentially being the prime language of this reality? And somebody as experienced as you has probably experienced the divine communicating with you in very symbolic ways. So I'm kind of curious on what your thoughts are about that.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm heavily invested in symbolism. And as I mentioned before, I was studying other languages, and that led me to what is the meaning of this and this and this and culture backgrounds, and it's the deeper hermeticisms and esoteric knowledge hidden behind those veils of other cultures would pop out at me and just integrate themselves into my reality and my dream states as well. I mean, I would wake up some days, have this dream that I was in Greece, and I never knew why. And then one day I discovered I'm a quarter Greek. And I had like done a whole genealogy on everything, and I realized I was like, I don't really know anything about myself, so maybe I should look into these symbols and these dream states that I have been experiencing. And it quite literally led me down a beautiful path of creation, which this is probably my best example of. And I had done sigil work. I had literally been brought to of somebody asking me what this symbol actually meant. And I was like, that's some I've seen this before. And that's all it took. It took one person asking me, "Do you recognize the symbol?" And my soul remembering it so deeply that it was like, oh no, we're doing this. You're not going to just take this as a coincidence. You're not going to like think of it as like it'll go away thing, because it didn't. Even if I tried to ignore symbols, that part, that whole story, that's a whole life ordeal. But it brought me to creating Sigil Tarot, because I was like, you know what? How do I take my premonitions, all these symbols I see, and use them? Because yeah, I see the meaning. It's all around me all the time, but what do I do with this? And higher self quite literally said, you're going to write it down and you're going to make tarot cards with them. And I'm like, what? Like, if you could have been there to see this moment in time, it was a 2-minute interaction with my higher self, and I was quite confused. I said, you want me to do what? I was like, I'm not Pamela Coleman Smith. I don't know who you're talking to. Like, I don't know if I have this ability. And all this doubt started to come up. And I was like, maybe I can do this. And 30 seconds later, I had 44 sigils on a piece of paper with a black Sharpie. And I was staring at the paper and I was like, what just happened? I channeled this entire language. I don't know what it is. And it took me 3 years to study it. And it's literally now an entire deck.
So is this your own personal deck that you've created yourself?
Yes.
Very cool. Very cool. Dive into that a little bit. I'm very curious. Like
So I know we briefed a little bit, but I was like, it might come up. And I was like, okay, I'll just pull it out. So yeah, 44 cards, really about shadow work, soul fragmentation, and soul alchemy, mostly. Symbols that you would want to see help your frequency. A lot of people call it light language. Also, I've integrated it into a rune system, crossed over with symbols from Greek literature, um, things that people would want to admire if they are stuck. Like, we all look at art. This was something that I thought would be remembrance. If somebody sees this from a reflector's perspective, are they going to be triggered or remember the thing that they need in the way back there in the subconscious? Is it there? This is what that's for. That's why I created it. And it took all of the pain in my life to do it. I was homeless at the time. I had no friends or family to help me at the time. When I had this very, very real connection with my higher self saying, don't you worry for a second. You are at what would look like a breaking point, but you're going to rise up. And I didn't believe my higher self for a second. I mean, if we went back in time to that version of Jessica, she was the victim that I refused to really give any light to, because I've healed her since. And it took all of me to also keep being the light for others, even though I was at my darkest time in my life. But I didn't stop, and I never will. And it really brought me up and rise above what I perceived to be the end. And it brought me to the other awarenesses of, this certainly is not the end. This life is not the end. This moment in its biggest grieving and shameful frequency is not the end. And I have the power to change it right now and obliterate it right now. That also takes a lot of anchorage, a lot of patience with yourself, and higher self gives it to you if you anchor in and you really, really listen. That soul alchemy, that creative flow, it will save you and it will save other people. And their soul will remember why. All at once. Some days it will be all at once in a dose, and we'll still forget. I've seen it happen to so many people. They're like, I got this amazing download last night. I still have bills to pay. Like, it just beeps over, and it's just so instantaneous. So we have to, you know what I mean, when we're all really anchored in as a consciousness, those things don't matter, and things flow very well into our laps, and I guess miracles happen after that. But like, you decide, right? Like, you decide, pick your hard, choose your level, but decide. Don't sit on it too long, because it's going to be a decision made for you if you don't. Higher self will definitely tell you that. That part is the reason that I laugh and not cry anymore.
Well, that's strength,
Yeah.
that's strength, because I mean it is, and that's a warrior mentality when it comes to everything. You're getting some love from the chat. The lion definitely digs your deck. Thinks that's hella cool. And Michelle is saying you're a straight up warrior, to have overcome that in your life. And she sending you big hugs on all of that. But no, it is. It's you took a warrior mentality, and I'm sure your trust in the divine right now is very unshakable after this experience. And this is something I talk to a lot of people about. I actually was talking about it on the show I did Sunday. It's how to have that trust in the unknown. It's how to cultivate and trust that, because that's the thing. That's a lot of people in our community still haven't even made that jump yet. They're still very much kind of have a foot in the old as they're trying to walk into the new. And one of the biggest reasons I think why it's so tough for a lot of people to actually, gain that trust is, number one, in our society, humans are conditioned to gravitate towards negative ways of thinking. And we get riled up and amped up over negative energy. One of the things I use kind of this analogy, like, let's say you're driving into work, somebody cuts you off, flips you off, and you walk into work, and you tell all your coworkers, right? You're like, man, this dude like cut me off, flipped me off. Like, everybody's gonna start rallying and go, yeah, fuck that guy. Like, getting all excited about it, and like, it causes a big scene. But the separate scenario is, let's say you're walking into work, somebody gives you $100, or something amazing happens, and you come and you tell all your coworkers, like, whoa, this amazing, beautiful thing just happened. Nobody gives a shit. It's because it's not negative. It's not giving them the energy to rally around and get all amped up over. But this is the thing. This is the human condition that we deal with in our collective. We gravitate around these negative thought patterns. And so that's the first thing, at least in my eyes. I want to get your thoughts on this too, because of your interesting story. The first thing in my eyes that we have to rewrite within ourselves in order to have this trust in the unknown and in the divine. The second thing is living. Exactly, Melissa. Misery definitely loves company, for sure. And but the other thing too is living in your authentic light, living in your authenticity. You can't. To me, a life not lived in authenticity is not a life worth living. Like, it's definitely not. So opening up your heart center, and also ultimately opens up your heart center too, when you live in your truest authenticity. And these two kind of work hand in hand. So it's like you're reformulating your mind and your brain to shift more into a neutral or more positive mind, so you can destroy these negative thought patterns. And then you're living in your authentic light, letting your light shine out wherever it goes. That's the second step. And then the third step is the surrender. It's almost like a step of surrender. It's once you cultivate these two steps, then you can walk into that surrender, and then the divine is going to reciprocate. It's going to see that, number one, you're meeting it halfway. You're changing the way you are. You're opening your heart. You're allowing your, I don't want to say destiny, but your life's mission unfold before your eyes in a lot of ways. And a lot of people will see it as destruction at first, and that's because they've trauma bonded with the toxic areas of their reality. But really what it is the divine clearing out the things that are no longer going to serve you, and then laying this foundation ultimately for your life's purpose. I'm just curious on your thoughts. That's my 3-step method, but I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but that's a really good way, at least in my eyes, to start to understand what it means to have this trust in the unknown and the divine.
Well, the trust factor, and I call it the trust fall. Do you remember when you were a kid and you did trust falls with your friends?
Yep,
Like
yep, yep.
that was a whole higher self lesson for all of us.
That's a good
It
way to
was
put it.
it was fun. You remember the free falling feeling, the butterflies in your stomach. That was all a test. That's a memory of test, right? So I want to bring that up because those are the moments we want for most of our lives. We want to be able to fall and be caught, get back up, see the person holding us, and have the bond and walk with the bond, and trust the bond for life. We're very cohabitant on bonds and symbolisms and passion and meaning and all of these things, but then we become our own hypocrite on what it means to us because we're so focused on the other person's opinion on what something means to them. And as a reflector, my truest thoughts on trusting the unknown, that right there is, you don't want, you don't want what you don't want. You know what you don't want. So if you keep speaking on what you don't want and you trust that you're saying it with confidence, you're literally binding yourself to the outcome. You're creating it for yourself. I'm very careful with my words. If you were to see me in my environment and walking around in this reality, you're going to notice 3 very obvious things about me. I stand very firmly. I walk very, very intimidatingly because my presence is, I need to do something. I don't have time to waste time or your time or anyone else. I'm very an about it person. And I used to be very hypocritical and a big procrastinator. So, mind you, I've not always been this version of myself, but I know that it delivers. And I know I can trust the unknown because of it. Now, prior to being this very, I would say, confident presence, I was leaning into the hypocrisy and the ability to be swayed by another person's energy so overwhelmingly that
Mhm.
I was never settled with the message from the unknown or the divine or the higher self. It was a encompassing circle of confusion, and there was no trust fall. It was me literally scared of my own everything, and I would literally be like surprised that something weird would happen for me or good, or I would be distrusting. I would literally be the opposite of it, and I would create more density and issues for myself. And I knew all of it too. I knew I was doing it, but I wanted to be sure. So I probably ran myself through a little bit extra mileage that probably didn't need to, but now
Mhm.
I'm unshakable because of it. So it's kind of, again, like you got to trust fall into yourself. The unknown and the divine are watching you doing it. And trust me, they are laughing.
Absolutely.
They are literally like, it's gonna happen one day. Just wait. Give them a second.
I
And
agree. I agree.
and I have to laugh about it, but it's like some days it's terrible. I know this too. It's like we fall into our own traps we set up for ourselves, and we're like, this was meant for something completely different. What did I physically say out loud to the universe? Like, what was my thoughts? Back up and like really account. And so authenticity and being accountable and respectable towards your language, what you say inside, what you say outside. It's all connected. It's very interesting and it's very delicate, and it needs to be handled with care, more care than we give it these days. Um, that's my thoughts on trusting the divine, trusting the unknown, and your relationship to higher self.
I dig it. I dig it. And one of the things I really liked, we're gonna talk about 2 things you talked about. You talked about the way you walk, the way you speak. And in my eyes, that's living life with intention, and that's living life with mindfulness. because it is. And one of the biggest things too, like, because I'm big into health and fitness, is not even a lot of people walk correctly. You know what I mean? And this is what's very interesting. And because a lot of people, when they walk, they don't stand up straight and they don't use their core and their glutes as a propeller, for almost as the driving factor for their stride. A lot of people lean forward and they use strictly like their hamstrings almost, and that's what causes a lot of these back problems and a lot of these knee problems that we have in the world today. But I mean, just how you were talking about the way you walk, the way you present your presence, the way that you speak, that's living your life with intention. You're directing that intention out into your existence wherever you're going. And you're also very mindful of how you're doing that. So that's kind of like a double edge right there. And that's really good that you brought that up, because one of the other things I want to talk about too is I'm big on this on my show. I talk about how we're constantly casting spells on ourselves all the time and we don't even realize. And and honestly, I mean, when we look at the greater collective, I mean, we're getting spells cast upon us as
Yeah.
well. Not only are we casting spells on ourselves, we're getting spells cast upon us by the parasite class, by the invisible college, all of these people. And it's because and the reason this happens to us is, number one, we aren't aware of things like etymology, which we can dive into for a little bit if you're okay with that. But the other reason too is because of that, like you were talking a little bit earlier in the show, that external validation. Ever since we were born into this world, we were conditioned to look outside of ourselves for love, validation, acceptance, the answers to the bigger questions in life. And this is how the parasite class cast spells on us, is because we're looking for them for these bigger answers, and they set these dictations out to us. And then we, as the collective, we accept that as a mutually agreed upon co-creative aspect to our reality. And then it gets implemented into our collective consciousness and thus for manifests for us. So, and that's the biggest secret in my eyes, is that they know the collective consciousness manifests reality and events. And a lot of people are not aware of this. So let's talk about for a little bit on how we're casting spells on ourselves unintentionally. And we are allowing the parasite class through karmic retribution and revelation of the method to cast spells on us. So how important are the words that we speak, Jessica?
Uh, it's everything. And it starts with the thoughts first and foremost. Um, I wanna say this very carefully.
Absolutely. Take your time.
Our approach to our senses are often already overstimulated and overrun by things that we know aren't good for us. But what is easiest to survive, what is easiest to live by, is oftentimes the option, and it's thrown very easily our way, um, to save time and to get what we need done. So we'll use slang terms, and we'll use certain ways to communicate together, to have an understanding and an awareness, and it's our own way of doing things. Even interpersonal relationships have couples have ways of speaking to each other so interestingly that they don't have to speak. So a lot of it is thoughts and body language first before speaking, and a lot of reactionary speaking is the casting. um this route, I approached this understanding of language probably about 5 years ago now, where I started to really consciously think about what was coming out of my mouth. To live authentically meant that I had to speak authentically. And if I was creating my reality with my words or my thoughts, what would that look like anymore? So I really had to get to a pros and cons list. And I had to start thinking about what that looked like for the world around me. And I won't even so much as acknowledge good morning anymore. I won't do it. I work in an industry of hospitality where I do morning shifts, but I'm there in the AM. I'm there at dawn, and I will not say good morning back to somebody. So again, I'm trying to say this very carefully because I don't use these words. But
I
as
gotcha.
an
I gotcha.
example for all of you, I will respond with hi. I will not even use the word hello. It's entirely different. I will say hi with a authentic and higher pitched tone. Or I will be bold and say grand rising. I won't use the same language. I won't use the same get ups and whatever. I'm aware of what these things mean to the body and I know how it sounds. And so I'm very careful about using the word victim or if I hear somebody saying these words around me, I also pay attention to what's going on in my body. Am I being triggered by when I hear these words? More often than not, yes. So I have to kind of calibrate myself before I respond. And I've learned really big in the last few years that silence is an answer, and that's okay. Like it's
Yeah.
allowed to not say a fucking thing. Excuse my French, but you could definitely not say something and still provide probably a better outcome if you don't respond, because the biggest part of being a reflector for what I can see is that if I respond or react, it's going to get that attraction, and that messiness gets real quick on the scale of that I shouldn't even have to deal with. So I've learned the hard way. Responding isn't necessary. Silence is an answer, and 90% of the time I should be observing over absorbing, right? So I don't want to observe too much, but I need to more often than responding. It helps guide you better. It opens up channels for your body better. You're going to have better states of being to think clearer in order to create
Absolutely.
better than you get to speak. And mind you, some people don't even have the ability to speak. And also I learned sign language for that very reason, because I did not want to be cut off from the deaf or the mute, because they, to me, probably have way more to say than I ever could. And so I opened up that language too, just to know sign language with the hands. Why are there different signs for the hands in different languages? Most people don't know that. So it's all very interesting to me, the way spells can be cast. You don't just have to think or speak it. You can body move it into your reality. Like it's just more than just speaking in my mind, you know. So yeah, I think that we can easily cut off from the spell casting if we stop and pause and think about our response a little more, if at all needing a response. And you may just see some interesting, beautiful things start coming your way. When I started shifting my language, I started seeing the divine literally handing me
Hmm.
gifts, like spiritual gifts to physical gifts to um like monetary gifts, um out of thin air. Okay, things that people talk about for manifesting, for instance. As a reflector, I can't do it without the rest. I learned that.
Hmm.
I can't. I literally can't. I've tried. I have literally tried. I have tried to be that manifester, and I don't do well at it. I don't. I have to be around other people in order to manifest anything as a reflector.
Interesting.
I have no
Interesting.
defined centers in my body. I have to have a physical person to be able for it to even happen at all. Like, but it's specific and it's to my thoughts. So I'm very careful about that. Other people struggle with their manifestation. So for instance, they'll be like, well, I want more money. So for the next week, they get overtime shifts and less time at home to relax. Okay.
I've had it happen.
Okay.
I know exactly what you mean. That's why I'm laughing. That's happened to a few of us in the chat. So keep going. Oh, yeah.
Now, when I say it, I met a man yesterday, as a matter of fact. He goes, I can't get my Wi-Fi to work. So he's handing me his cell phone. By the way, I believe those are portals to whatever. And I'm going,
Absolutely.
you can't get this working. It's working for me. You can't do it. Okay, I'm seeing this happening and I'm going to try and fix it for you. It's not broken, by the way, but okay. And I'm trying to assist him. And he's so kind and patient. And on his phone, there's an Uber driver saying, well, we're picking you up in 2 minutes. And I was like, I looked at him and I says, I thought you had time for this. Like, I switched it up on him. I just brought all of the frustration out and I started to make him laugh. And I was like, this changes everything. You need to go in 2 minutes and you need Wi-Fi, but you're leaving. And he's just like, well, I gotta go, And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, good luck. And he goes, oh yeah, I'm totally gonna win. I was like, and if you do, you can tip me for wishing you luck. He goes, bet. That's the last thing he said to me. I didn't see him for 7 hours. He came back and he literally handed me $20. I won $2,000 tonight. Thank you.
Oh, wow.
Well,
That's
thank
really
you,
cool.
sir. Thank you. And that was the end of it. And it's just the funniest little things like that. That'll happen to me all the time, but I have to weave the fun, the happiness, the joy. I have to weave it into the experience for it to manifest the right way,
Understood.
positive way, and or otherwise it is meant for you and you got to go through the lesson. So it's like, two very different divisions of paths, but if you're paying attention, it's worth every second. If you're doing your manifesting right, you know.
Absolutely. No, and it's funny because the reason why I kind of chuckled when you were saying that about the people trying to manifest some kind of like financial stability or financial abundance, and my trial and errors of manifestation. Yeah, that definitely happened to me, and it's not even a want or a need to be rich. It's just like everybody today could definitely be more comfortable when it comes to things like that. But I remember I was testing out different terms,
Yeah.
and it was so funny. I started getting called into work more. I started working more overtime, and I remember I'm like sitting there, and I'm like, Don in the chat has gone through this too, so he understands what I'm talking about. And eventually, what just happened was through my trial and errors and my training in it, I stopped asking for it, but I found another way. It's when like again like you're really emphasizing um the importance of the words that we speak and how we say them. Yep, even Don's chiming in because he knows we've both been through it. But but it is. And so eventually though, what I had to understand is you have to align yourself. And you have to do that work on yourself
Yeah.
to put you in alignment with receiving that. And that's ultimately what was the lesson that I found out through my own trial as a manifester myself, because once I found out I was a manifester, I was like, oh, I have to try and harness this. I have to try and figure out how it works. And like it's like almost like it's when you do it out of desperation, or there's any kind of worry involved, like when you're trying to manifest, it's going to give it to you in a very awkward way, not exactly the way that you were trying to manifest. But no, thanks for sharing that with us. I really appreciate it because yes, it is. It's super important. That's why I say GM. I say GM because yes, I mean Elon Musk stole it from us anarchists. It is not a right wing thing. I just wanna put that out there right now because he did. He took it.
Oh,
Elon Musk.
come on. Oh, wow.
Elon Musk ruined a few things for us anarchists. He ruined Signal, which was the anonymous app. Once he blew it up all over the place, the intelligence agencies got their hands in it. He took GM from us. He also took Parasite class from us, and now he's referring to the Parasite class as people who like live off welfare and get government assistance. And I'm like, no, that's not what the Parasite class is. The Parasite class is you, bud. But anyways, um, so the other thing I want to kind of bring up with you, with the little bit of time that we have left, is I want to talk about discernment. I want to talk about personal agency and personal sovereignty in this existence and how they are some of the biggest tools in our tool chest to navigate this current atmosphere, this current and don't get me wrong, I call this a strange, unknown, and uncharted territory for this batch of humanity. I know we have gone through this in the past in the other batches of humanity. But, we're talking about right now. And I think, right now, like I was telling you, discernment, agency, and sovereignty should be at an all time high with everything that's being thrown at us because I still see a lot of people in our community getting roped back into this system. It seems like they are continuously falling for what I call the dangling carrot. You have again, like a great example of this would be like, with I talk about Vivek, he comes out at the beginning of like 2024. He's dangling the carrot. Oh, I'm this young guy. I'm gonna reveal the truth about 9/11. I'm gonna reveal the truth about the corruption and the conspiracies. And then we have all of these like, and we all know how the mainstream politician operates at this point. At least I do, and I believe like you do as well. I can just tell. And but we see a lot of the spiritual community and a lot of people in the freedom community and anarchist communities getting roped back into the system. So one of the questions I guess I want to ask of this is, how do you feel we should be utilizing our discernment, our agency, and sovereignty to navigate through this current sphere? And how do you feel we should be using it to decipher the spiritual warfare that is being thrown at us? Because that is something that we are dealing with on a consistent basis, is this spiritual warfare. I mean, it's mental, it's psychological, and it's spiritual. So in your eyes, why do you feel that discernment, agency, and sovereignty are some of the most important tools that we can have in our chest while navigating this?
Well, sovereignty is the only label I want, to be real with you. It's taken me everything to even understand the meaning and passion behind that word. Um, it took discernment to even understand learning that word, and we take words for granted often, but that one is my top favorite because I will announce with the way I walk and the way I speak and where I go and what I'm doing that I am sovereign here. That is the end of it. Who I am, what I've done in my life, in this life and past lives matters not. I am sovereign first and foremost, and I'm here to remind others of that very same thing. Because if we don't reclaim our Merkaba energy in our vehicle here, we will repeat the timeline that is devastating for the souls that are suffering now. And that part requires all of your sovereign discernment. It requires it. You have to have the filter on a lot of the time to have decent connections with people anymore. Again, I've always said this, the world is very loud, but spirit is louder. The world is so very easily conditioned to throw their earplugs in conveniently, narcissistically, manipulatively, projectingly. It is all around us. 365 Gregorian calendar days. And our timetable isn't even correct. So they've lied to us about our water, our food, our politics, our schools, the way we were supposed to grow up, how we were going to get our information, how we were going to be sustainable here, what we could actually be doing with the technology we should have already had, they've hidden from us, our alien nations, our outside forces in space that are watching us. These very real things that we are connected to have all required discernment. Because once you look down that hall of mirrors that I described, you have to be brave enough to walk through it to the other side, because there's no going back once you do. There's no going back once you see how sovereignty works for you. When you realize the freedom behind you claiming your power here, you move differently anyway. And it's very confusing. And some, the most, reject that or fight it, or it's very uncomfortable in the unknown, right? But that's where you're supposed
Absolutely.
to be. You're supposed to be uncomfortable for a little while. If it means that this timeline shifts for all of us to continue our sovereignty at all. So yeah, the way that I see the world now versus when I started out, like I had rose-colored glasses on for a long time. I had an innocence and a purity that I lost and got back. Most of us have to go back and get it. No one's coming to save you, to give it to you. That is discernment. That is sovereignty. You have to be educated and intelligent enough to ask the questions, to beg the difference, to stand up for yourself and to fight for your own mind, or it will be hijacked and it will be used against you. And it hurts me to say it. It hurts me to say it because I don't know how I'm still here. I honestly, because I have fought to be here so long just to have a voice, like many of you, that it is a miracle that I am still sitting here and I have the ability to even describe any of this to you. And so for the gratitude level, discernment will grant you gratitude. That is a whole gift of itself for your sovereignty. So you can get up every day and put your armor on, whatever that means for you. I don't believe there's a right or wrong way to be a spiritual warrior here in a spiritual warfare zone. I think there's hard ways and easier ways, but I don't think there's a wrong way once you realize we're in it. We are in a war, and every single one of us has a responsibility and an accountability to fight it.
Absolutely, man. And dude, oh my goodness, like I got goosebumps because I heard I heard the passion, I heard the energy, I felt the energy that came from what you just said.
Thank
And
you.
it is, it's important. It's important, and one of the biggest things you highlighted a lot tonight, and I'm actually very appreciative about this because I am the same way, and I say this all the time. Nobody is coming to save you. You have to save yourself. But that's the test here, and so actually the lion calls it, you have to be the hero of your own arc. You have
Yeah.
to be the main character of your story, and you have to channel that energy into not just your internal space but everything around you. You have to look at things from a perspective of non-attachment and neutral mind. And that's actually something that's really, really big with everything that's going on right now, because in my opinion, we're being tested right now. We're being tested on many different levels. I kind of use this analogy because I woke up back in 2008, so I kind of like I've seen this all kind of unfold over the past like almost like 18 years at this point in time. So I joke that in 2012, an expansion pack was downloaded onto our reality. It was not the end of the world, it was the end of an age. But with this expansion pack that was downloaded onto our reality, whether you want to call it Human Ascension expansion pack or the Human Test Run expansion pack version 2, I don't know. But but it's but this is what happened, and we are being tested right now on a very big level. Why? And that's why I joke like sometimes sometimes I feel like I'm on a interdimensional reality TV show.
Yeah,
And
I just 2 cents there. Yeah,
yeah,
we are.
no, what would it? Yeah, exactly, right. We definitely are. We're on an interdimensional reality TV show, 100%. I've experienced it. Like you have to. You have to. What have you experienced, real quick? I got to hear. What have you experienced about this? Because it is. It's like an interdimensional TV show.
Like I wish it was not used this way, but I have to use the word targetization because
Yeah. I got you. I got you.
you're you're in your own groove, you're doing your own thing, you're so confident, and then it's like a scene out of Seinfeld, and just like Kramer comes in, and it's the higher self, and he's like, I am definitely going to show you something today. And you're just like, what do you mean? And all of it comes after that. And it's just, it's you're left at a stand-up comedy show laughing at yourself because you really want to have control over what's going on. But if you tried, you wouldn't know really what to do. And just without the characteristics of other people coming in with this, spiritual warfare or whatever, you get tested. And it just, that's what I call it, the Seinfeld episode of my life. And it happens pretty much all the time. And I just can't unsee it or unknow that. Like I just can't.
I totally get it, man. No, I do, and it's very interesting because me and my higher self right now, we have a very, and this is my higher self doesn't annoy me by any means. So I want to say like it's like in a positive way, like an Eddie Brock Venom relationship. It's like it's very much like that. Like I'll be the way we communicate with each other and the way that we interact with each other in this existence. It's very much like, again, like I said, an interdimensional reality TV show. And that's like the best thing I can call it at this point in time, because yeah, that's exactly what it feels like. But nonetheless, Jess, we're gonna go ahead and wind down for tonight. But a couple things I want to say to you real quick.
Right.
Number one, don't discount the spiritual warrior that you are. Okay. I have been through some stuff in my life, and it's interesting. And that's why I always ask people their awakening story, is I hear a lot of what happened to me and everybody else's stories.
Yeah.
And it is, we share this. So don't discount the strength that you have. You've brought yourself a very far in your life, and you're now in a place where you're in alignment. So don't have any doubts or regrets ever. I'm not saying that you do. I'm just reinforcing that.
Oh, I love that.
And
Thank you. No, it's
yeah,
a good to be heard. Like more people need to be reminded of you're good. You got you. You got your back. You've got you. Your higher self got you. It's coming together. And forgive yourself for feeling that way too. Also, big thing there. Forgive yourself if you do feel not sure 100% all the time. That's okay. It's okay to feel that way. Um,
agreed.
and remember who you are. We're all right here with you. Um, when you do feel alone and you need someone, it's not the same thing as needing to save yourself, but remember that there's help. There is help. There are angels that will walk with you in the dark, even if you can't see them. They will show up for you. They won't save you, but they will help you. You have to open up to that and trust that too. And I have so much love for all of you. And thank you for sharing this miraculous journey with me. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, man. And you're getting a lot of love from the audience. And grateful heart, Karen. Thanks for sharing your story, Jessica. We've got this. And quick question before we close off. The Earth Grid Rescue Mission wants to know. Whoop, that's my comment. Hold on. So Earth Grid Rescue Mission wants to know, did you make the cards or have them printed through MPC, your card deck?
I made them myself, and I ended up purchasing some printing materials, and I have them on. This is one of 5 tarot decks that I've created. I have an
Nice.
animal tarot deck, and a couple other ones, an oracle that I'm working on. I've put it all down for a while because I want to get them professionally printed. I'm at a stage where I want to share these with people, but I do have a downloadable version um, that is available for free because I also have my book on Kindle for free. It's called The Psychic Revolution, if you're interested.
Are those on
Um,
your website? Because I have I have your website and your TikTok and your Facebook in the description of both the YouTube and the Rumble videos. So I
take
was just curious.
take what you want. Um, don't mind the mess. It's always a reflector construction site on that website. My bad, but I'll clean it up when I get there. But thank you for looking anyway.
No worries, no worries. And you know, the other thing you taught us too, the importance of having trust in the unknown, importance of the words that you speak, the intention, even down to the way you walk, the way you present yourself, on how it all interacts in an energetic interface with our perceived external existence. And you're really showcasing some self-mastery, man. You're getting some props from me on that. You know, it is. Self-mastery is a hard thing to achieve. I am also on that path. I'm getting a little bit of it myself. So I know the work that it takes to get there. It takes some work, man. It does.
I want to
And
reiterate, so just
yeah, yeah,
for that, I always announce myself as I'm ever a student here. I am always learning. I am always wanting to learn something new. Um, I don't want to limit my knowledge or wisdom, and I want to be open and receptive as a reflector. I don't know it all by any means, and again, even if I did, I wouldn't know what to do with it. So I remain humble and grateful for the lessons and the growth and sharing this with all of you. Um, it's so very important to me that is known, because I think that you'll start to see that unfold in all of your realities very quickly. The humbleism and the gratitude and the warriors will come very quickly, and they will not be shy. It will not be shy. The symbols will not be shy. Your higher self, it'll all just sort of kind of like be this new movie set or a new episode that you are proud to be a part of. And I look forward to that with all of you.
absolutely. We look forward to it with you too, friend. And this was a great convo. I would definitely love to have you back on in the future. You're a real one. And
Thank
I don't say that very often to many people. And you're a real one for sure. So guys, Jess, if you could just hang out for a couple minutes after the show ends. Guys, check out Jessica. I have her, like I said, I have her Facebook, I have her website, I have her TikTok. In both the Rumble and the YouTube descriptions for the video. So if you want to go give her a follow on TikTok, Facebook, check out her website. The information is there for you. And other than that, everybody, thanks for joining us for another BG Cast Wednesday live podcast. This was a great episode. I really enjoyed this conversation. But nonetheless, guys, you know what we say here at BG Cast to always close out the show. Stay safe, stay free, have that personal agency and that personal sovereignty, And for the love of God, do not be like Elon Musk and stay away from the Japanese sex robots. Okay, he has gotten really intense in them, and it's getting a little creepy, Elon. I just want to tell you that.
Agreed.
But other than that, guys, have a good night. We'll see you next Wednesday. Take care.
Collectively together, you were born to rotate with the crowd. You were born to sink with the sacred spiral. The Hercules stream is proof. The cosmos hammers the divergent. BG-S3-35 brings us that Hercules energy. It's here to save the day. You won't stay lost in the dark. Here is your shot with BG kept beside you. Can we rise alone?